Good morning, my happy hour back. Here's the plan. More of the same. Sorry, it's all I got for you right now. It'll be ceilings in the sunroom, in the living room, in the hallway downstairs. It'll be skim coat in the dirty kitchen, maybe other areas. It'll be the perimeter barbed wire. Beyond that, I haven't got anything else for you just yet. Stick around, we'll find something. Oh, plus, I have to head off today and see if I can get my application done for my NBI, which is kind of the precursor to getting permanent residence here. I don't think, given that it's a government office, I don't think I'll be allowed to take the camera in, so I'm not even going to try. I'll let you know, if I get back in time, how it goes. What? Well, that could possibly go wrong. What else could possibly go wrong? We'll start here this morning at the dirty kitchen. Ornell, with his assistant, multitasking engineer Raphael, getting on the skim coat in here. Now, as I wander around so far this morning, it has been extremely noisy. There's been drills and saws going off all over the place and a lot of hammering. So just bear with me. It's a building site. The ceiling in the sunroom. New Rico has temporarily disappeared, but he was working on this. We've now got Erwin applying solignum again to the, well, I say again, it may be the first time here, but he's applying solignum to the wooden areas. And if you have missed that in the past, it is a protective covering to try to slow down the impact of termites. Behind him, Rico and a moment ago O'Donnell working on the ceiling for the downstairs hallway, going from effectively where the front door is down towards the turning into the kitchen on one side and 3 other rooms on the left side. In the living room, we've got 3 people working on the ceiling here, and already this morning we're sprouting lots more of these vertical carrying channels. I still can't remember if that's the right name. The vertical attachments from the roof. So they're going up all over the place. And they're just about, I think, to start putting in the first of the metal fairings, the horizontal metal support. And here it goes. The very first one in this room. Just trying to figure out where it should be. There we go, where the mark is. Right, walkie talk, move on. I did walk around upstairs about 10 minutes ago, and there's only one person working up there right now, and it's our plumber. And he's in a rather inaccessible area in one of the bathrooms. So I'm going to leave him alone. There's no sign at the moment of any electricians so far today, but I imagine they'll probably be back later to continue with those LED strips. And I will, as I said yesterday, I will try to find the box in which they came so we can show you exactly what they are. I did ask yesterday and they've lost the boxes. We'll try again later. Here we go at the pool, continuing with the tiles. There was a comment about the use of this mallet, and I just checked with the guys. It is rubber, it's not metal. So it should allow them to tap on these tiles without breaking them. So this morning we are into almost the shallowest part of the pool, not quite. Lots of fiddly bits still to do, but they're attacking it from 2 sides as they have been on previous days. So this is one side, and I'll show you the other. I warned you it was noisy. So cutting tiles for fiddly bits, and here we are very nearly up to that wall where the very shallow area starts on the other side of the bridge. Pretty much it's all fiddly bits still to do just here. I think it was Michael Masnar who was asking about the depth of the fish pond. I haven't measured it. It looks to me like it's about 6 feet, 2 meters, or thereabouts. That is as deep as we're going to go. Michael also sent me a private message, and he was concerned about access above ceilings, initially upstairs, but I'm sure the same thing will apply upstairs and downstairs, in case we ever need to get up into that area to try and address anything mechanical up there, get into wiring. And it was very nice of you, Mike, to send that as a private message. But I would encourage everybody, even if you've got questions that might have negative outcomes, don't worry about putting them in the comments. Your concerns are very valid, and it's good to share them. You know, even if in the end we end up making mistakes on this build, and of course we will. Well, I will. The builder may or may not. But even if we do end up with something that's less than ideal, it's good for everybody else to hear about it and to see some kind of response if I can give it. So I would encourage everybody. I do appreciate, Mick, that it was very polite of you to put it in as a private message. But don't worry about it. I think everybody, just, even if you've got something that you think could have a negative consequence, let me know. And let's let everybody know. I think I know not everybody reads the comments. Maybe very few of you do. But that's why I will try at times to address issues on camera. So, of course, there might be times when a private message is more appropriate. Steve L sent me one that was more appropriate for a private message, but that was nothing negative. He was looking to help, but it was a very specific thing for us. So everybody else, don't be concerned about putting in comments that you think might have a negative outcome. Of course, keep it polite, but I think you almost always all do. Try if you can to make it constructive, but you always do, almost always. But let's share the failings of this build as well as the successes. And right next to the fish pond, we've got the barbed wire crew continuing to make their way across the west. I'll back my up. Oh, he's a terror. He's reversing all of the phrases that I think I know, and he's doing it in both Kapampangan and in English. But they'll presumably get pretty close to finishing off this barbed wire at this west wall. There was a question about whether there was any tensioning mechanism for keeping this barbed wire stretched and tense. I've not seen any sign of it so far, so I'm assuming the answer is no. I will check with the engineer later. There was another question, we've had to talk about it once or twice before, but there was a question of why are we bending the rebar inwards rather than outwards. Now, outwards would be the preference. I think as a security measure that is probably a little bit more effective, but we're not allowed to. Our property wall is right on the limit of our property, and you can't do anything that effectively goes into somebody else's property, even though there's a very good chance nobody around us would complain. Certainly on this west side, on the north side, it's nothing but fields at the moment. But we can't take the risk that we get in trouble for effectively going into somebody else's property, even if it is 2.5 meters up and there's very little on the other side. Just not right. So that's why it is bent inwards rather than outwards. Here's the box for the LED strip. and it is completely unhelpful. What I'm trying to find out is two things. What's the code for this type of LED strip? And also, how many LEDs per meter? The key for LEDs per meter really is so that you can try to avoid having what appear to be individual lights. What we really want is a strip that just looks like one continuous light, and that is at least partly dependent on how many LEDs there are per meter. So we're going to have to keep digging around with this one and check back with the builder on what it is that he actually ordered, because this box and this reel really don't tell us anything. We'll come back to it. It's a little bit after 2 o'clock. Just got back from the visit to the offices of the National Bureau of Investigation. For anybody that's interested, the NBI is a body that has to give you a clearance certificate for, amongst other things, becoming a permanent resident. So as a foreigner, I have to go and get NBI Clearance, then I can submit that with my documentation for permanent residency. It was almost a completely pain-free experience. I have to say, they were very good. I arrived an hour early because I wasn't sure exactly where it was or where I could park. That was easy. So I walked in there an hour early and went straight in, and they started processing me immediately. I walked out an hour later, but of that hour, probably 30 minutes or so was taken up wandering off to get a couple of passport size photos, which their website, to be fair, didn't mention that I needed. I might have done, I could have just missed it. And that was a slow process, but in the office itself, they were excellent. The only slight thing was the fact they didn't mention that need for photographs, but the major upside is that the website says I would have to go and collect the actual certificate of clearance from Manila. I don't. They've told me they'll call me when it's ready, which will be about, they say, 10 to 12 days. That's the express service, and yes, you pay a fee for that, but not huge, $50 give or take. Otherwise it would have been, they say, 35 plus days. So I can go and collect it in the same place that they just processed me. So it was a very, very good experience. If getting permanent residency is anything like that, it'll be a breeze. I don't think that will be a breeze though. We'll see. Here we are at the perimeter wall, and they have completed the wire across the west and are now heading back down on the north side. And it won't be too long before they connect back to where they stopped coming up the north side a few days ago. Well, the chickens seem to like my compost, and if they're pooping in it, even better. This is on the way back from the back of the property, and look at this, a lot of the tiling for the shallow area now in place. Clearly lots and lots of fiddly bits to do, but it goes all the way around here. Once this is done, the last remaining section is the very shallow part, just back over there. But this is getting close. They won't be done today, or I would be amazed if they're done today, but I think they will be done tomorrow with the tiling, and then it's moving on to finishing all the other stuff. Just to confirm, all of the tiling on the floor, right up to the barrier where the very shallow area is, all of it now done. Skim Coater extraordinaire, Ronell, is now working on these beams across the outside of the sunroom, so between the sunroom and the patio. So we'll go and have a look at where he got to in the dirty kitchen. But here, all the way across this beam and the top part of the outside of the dirty kitchen, mostly done. This is the maze of platforms that I've got to navigate. I've bumped my head already just going under one, but I am still wearing my hard hat. The ceiling in the living room. A lot more progress here, clearly. We've got a lot of the metal fairings in, we've got some of the wood sideboards, I'm not sure what you call them. A lot more done here. This is the dining room. And Manny's just showed me the picture of what the ceiling will look like. Take a dizzy pill, here we go. That is what it'll look like. Measurements all over the place, but fundamentally, again, a 3-layer ceiling. I've tried 2 different ways to get inside the dirty kitchen, but for someone of my size, it's just not accessible right now. Too many platforms and bits of scaffolding in the way. But here we are, Skim Coat, done. They have left this lower section where the, amongst other things, the oven will be. I'm guessing that's because all of that will be tiled, and so Skim Coat is not really relevant, I suppose. No need to smooth out a wall if you're going to stick tiles on it. At least, I assume that's the theory. But all the rest of it is done. It's 4:30, the end of the day. There's a lot of little conversations going on at the moment. We've thrown a little fly in the ointment because we're asking to borrow probably 4 of the crew to go and help us with a little side project that we're going on that I can't tell you about, but I will tell you about soon. But they're just trying to organise 4 guys to go and help us elsewhere starting tomorrow, just for a couple of days, maybe 3 days. Anyway, let's get back to this. We'll go and have a wander around and see how build delicious it was. The dining room ceiling really taking shape now. Clearly not finished, clearly still some of the woodwork still to be done, more metal fairings still to be put in place, but it's come on a lot today. This is the dining room next to it. So we've made the start by putting the guide rails along the outside. At the moment, it looks like that's all it is just for now. But again, got to start somewhere. The ceiling in the downstairs hallway coming along quite nicely. Metal frame, a lot of that now done. It does appear as though this is probably a simple flat roof. Sorry, ceiling. Time will tell. And here in the sunroom, still a little bit of work to be done with trimming off some of the fairings, but it's getting close to having all the frame in place just here. This is the home theatre room. We've not been in here for quite a while. It is very dark. I've bumped the light up as much as I can, but it is very dark. But we now have 3 breaker boxes in here. That is, I think, the only development that we've had since we last looked in here, which was at least 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think. But they're starting to get the electrical wiring connected back into here. And on the outside of the dirty kitchen, we're starting to get the Skim Coat covering a lot of that. A lot of the platforms that where I'm standing in the sunroom have been cleared away, and starting to make Skim Coat cover on this wall as well. The swimming pool tiling has continued, and there's actually very little left to do. It's just fiddly bits now around here in the shallow area. And then come with me. The base of this very shallow area. And that'll be it with tiling. Apart from if we do put tiles on the outside edge of the pool. I don't think that'll be tiles though. I think that'll be more like probably paving slabs. Or there have been 1 or 2 other ideas which we're going to talk to the builder about. So it's really a question of tomorrow morning finishing off these fiddly bits, and then they can get started on whatever else needs to be done with pumps and filters and handrails on bridges, and there's still a few more things that they have to do. But my word, we're getting closer. I did just go and have a look upstairs. There was no clear signs of a lot of activity up there, at least nothing that was worth showing on video. Although I believe the electricians were working up there, and I think the plumber was working up there as well today. But the work they were doing is not obviously visible, so we'll leave that one. That's it for the day. Slightly bad news again. The solar installation, which we had pushed back to next Monday, now has to be Tuesday, for the really quite good reason that Monday is election day here in the Philippines, and so it's not going to be practical to get everybody here. Never mind, it's only one day. But that's it. That's the end, rather remarkably, of day 199 on this build. Incredible. Almost 200 days. Right, we'll come back tomorrow morning for the start of day 200 and see what happens then. See you tomorrow.